I know this has been mentioned several times, but again, lastly by Terry, but our amnesty program right now is a really, really good way for any taxpayer to be able to pay off their debt with the state and get some really good relief when it comes to penalty and interest. So I would highly encourage any of you out there who have clients who can participate, that everyone should be getting a letter that explains what their eligible liability is. Those letters are going out continuously. And so I would really highly encourage everyone to see if their clients or them, if you can participate in any way to get that relief. So again, my name is Rebecca Kulikowskis. I am the chairwoman of the Board of Appeals. Next slide. So the Board of Appeals is just generally the last stop for anyone. So chances are you've been through possibly you've been through the collections process. You may have been through the hearings process, or chose not to participate in any of those things, but come directly to the board. And so we are generally the last stop for most taxpayers. And so our authority comes from the statute, and we adhere to the statute. And so there's generally two reasons why you're coming to the board. You're either coming to the board for some relief under reasonable cause provisions, or you're coming to us because you are experiencing a hardship, a financial hardship, and you are saying to us that you are not able to pay the state what you owe. And so those are the two types of petitions that we receive. Next slide. Okay, so the board is made up of myself, and then depending on the amount at issue or the amount that is being compromised, the board, I have a board as well. And so that right now consists of Stephen Hayes, who is the head of Collections Bureau, and then Alexis Overstreet, who is Deputy General Counsel for Sales and Excise Tax Policy, and then all of the orders that I enter are signed off by the director ultimately, and so that is who comprises our board. Next. Okay, so again, I've kind of gone into the types of cases the board does hear. And so the main thing that I would like to make sure you understand is that your liability has to be a finalized liability before you come to the board. So that means you are not contesting the underlying liability, or that you can no longer contest the underlying liability. We do get a lot of people who try to come to the board that say this tax amount, this liability amount is not correct. That, if that's true, and that's what you want to argue, then you have to go see either if you should be with administrative hearings or the tax tribunal. And if you're timely enough to either be there or get a late discretionary, those are the forums to contest the underlying tax liability. When you get to us, it's final. The amount that you owe is no longer contestable. And so if we can go forward 2 slides. The other time we have jurisdiction is we have special jurisdiction, and that really occurs under very special circumstances where quite possibly a taxpayer is pending at several different areas, and it's in the department's and the taxpayers' best interest for the board to take special jurisdiction to see if everything can be resolved at one time. Next slide. Okay, so as I said before, we hear offers and compromise, and that is where the taxpayer is saying that they cannot afford to financially repay the state the amount that it's owed. And so what the taxpayer needs, or you need to understand, the taxpayer needs to understand, is that the director is the person who has the final say. The board and myself make a recommendation, and ultimately, based on the dollar amount at issue, the director will either allow me to sign on his behalf or will review the case himself to sign off on that order. Next slide. For reasonable cause, a lot of people ask for interest relief, and I will say that interest relief can be abated or waived. However, it's really limited circumstances. So if you're coming in on reasonable cause and you're asking for, abatement of penalty and interest, then the interest component of that we'll look at separately to see if there's something that the department may have done to cause the additional time to be added to your case, so that really the interest accruing is more of the department's fault. Now, there's the consideration of the board for the normal course of the way liability runs through the department. And so it's not that your case didn't get resolved in 1 month. It's usually a lot more time has been added. I'll just give one example. It was, we did give interest relief to a case where there had been maybe like 3 auditors on the case, just because each auditor had retired during the course of the audit. And so it did go on for, I think, an unreasonable amount of time. So our view at the board is that the taxpayer should not be penalized for that, but that's the type of situation where interest relief would be granted. Next slide. Okay, so here's another, there's a lot of words on this slide, but the main gist of this is that we do get a lot of petitions filed with the board on a daily basis, similar to admin hearings. And so I think right now, when I prepared this slide, we were just over 1,200. I think we might even be closer to 1,300 now. And so we have created different routes for where these cases are best handled, and so that we can resolve them and get orders entered in a expeditious manner. However, we have had people call, send a petition in at the beginning of the week, and by the beginning of the following week, they're asking, why hasn't my case been addressed? And so each case depends, of course, on its own individual facts and circumstances, but there are a lot of people ahead of you, I would say. However, if there is some emergency circumstance that maybe has come up or you didn't put in your petition, please call the board, email me, and if there is truly an emergency situation happening where you need the board to look at this, your petition in a quicker manner than would normally be, I definitely do consider those. So just contact us. Next slide. Okay, so there's types of cases that the board does not hear. We do not release a lien. However, we do put in our order language that would allow that. and we often do help facilitate with the lien unit the removal of that lien, because a lot of times that's something that is what the taxpayer is wanting is that lien to be removed. We cannot reverse revocation order, and we cannot stop the seizure or offset of federal or state refunds. Well, federal. Next slide. Okay, so this is also what we do not hear. I think the second bullet point talks about late discretionary. And so that, again, that was with the chief ALJ. If it has been granted, then you're going to be you're going to be protesting your underlying tax liability. If you do not get granted a late discretionary, then we will take your case, because now your liability is finalized. There is no more ability for you to contest the underlying liability, and so that liability is final. Next slide. Okay, so what do you need to submit? So if you have the ability to choose whether or not you're going to proceed at the board under a reasonable cause or an offer in compromise. And so if it's reasonable cause, there's nothing more that we need than just the information as to why you think there is reasonable cause to abate the penalties and or interest in your petition. If you're coming to us on an offer in compromise, then we do ask for additional information for individuals in the BOA 4 and for businesses in a BOA 5. We ask for federal and state tax returns. We ask for bank statements. We ask for pay stub, and sometimes depending on what's going on with your particular case, we'll ask for some other information. And so oftentimes we won't even move your case to jurisdiction until we've received the minimum information that we've requested in an offer in compromise. Next slide. And like I said, that additional information, so there's information that we ask right from the outset, and then it goes through, and if you ask for a temporary restraining order or a TRO, once it gets to jurisdiction, the supervisor of jurisdiction is Helen Coe, and so they might ask for some additional information that would allow us to make a determination on if a TRO should be entered, and if so, if there should be any terms that are attached to that TRO. And then lastly, we always, if there's an attorney or another representative representing the taxpayer, that POA is filed through the department's POA unit. And so we will accept the case, and the supervisor for that is Faith Dolgan. So we will docket your petition. However, we will not, the attorney who's trying to file a proper, valid, attorney form will not be getting the notices that we're sending out until that POA is valid and validated with the POA unit. So for people out there, the case will still keep moving, but if you are representing someone, you need to make sure that your POA has been validated. Next slide. Okay, so there's 3 ways to file at the board. And so I think the other, you can always mail it in. We still do have a fax, but the preferred way is through our website, or through our general email, which is listed there. That email makes it a lot easier for us to for the intake to review the petition and then to have it move on its way. So I would highly encourage you to file via our general email. Next slide. Once the petition is docketed, we will automatically send out a notice that acknowledges that we've received that petition. Again, it could get held up before moving from the acceptance of the petition to jurisdiction. Faith Dolgan will reach out and she will let you know if there's something that's needed. And so I think that we are very good at communicating with either the taxpayer or the POA what we still need in order to move your case forward to jurisdiction, which is where a lot of people want to be because they are looking for that TRO. You only need to, I think the IRS requests triplicate or, and then if I can just say this, because I've seen a lot of this lately, is people they're mailing it in, they're emailing it in. If you could just pick a lane, which one you want to send it in, and just send it in once. I feel like we are very good at acknowledging that a petition has been filed. And so it just kind of clogs the system if you are sending us an email multiple times with the same petition, or now you've faxed it in, you've mailed it in. You really want us to get it. If you think for some reason that we haven't gotten it, just give us a call to our general board number, phone number, and we'll let you know right away, but that we received it. But additionally, as soon as it's docketed, there's an automatic letter that goes out to let you know that we have received your petition. Here's the docket number. Your case is now proceeding with the board. Next slide. And just looking at the time, I'm going to try to really hurry up here. But TROs, a lot of people come to the board for TROs because basically what that does is stop the collection process. And so it lets collections know, hey, this taxpayer is trying to work something out at the board. Stop your active collections on this person and wait to see what's going to happen. And so if I could just emphasize that TRO is not something that's automatically granted. We do look over the taxpayer's facts and circumstances very carefully. The taxpayer or the POA is not the person who dictates what the terms of that TRO are. And so we will enter it, and this is usually part of a discussion, but ultimately, based on the information that we have at that point, we decide if a TRO will be granted and if it's going to be unconditional or conditional. Conditional one just means that we are going to require some sort of payment towards tax and or a monthly payment towards the underlying tax. Next slide. TROs do not stop the department from filing liens. A lot of people will get that notice in the mail. All it does is, not all it does, but the main purpose of a TRO is to stop that active collection proceeding, and so just hold off that one unit of the department. Next. There's a lot of information here on TROs, so if you have any questions, just read through this or give us a call at the board. Another condition, though, of the TRO is you have to stay current in your filings, and so that's one of the main reasons sometimes that TROs are revoked, is because the taxpayer will fall behind on their current tax obligations. So please keep that in mind, that we are putting you on, what we hope to be an amount that will allow you to stay current on your obligations and begin somewhat of a repayment of that debt to the state. Next slide. Okay, so once your case has been accepted, you've gone through jurisdiction, then the case is assigned to a hearing officer. Again, depending on the dollar threshold, what I'm trying to do is streamline some of the lower dollar cases, somewhere it's maybe a little bit easier to come to a decision quicker. So we have some of the board personnel handling those, and then we have the larger, usually the offers in compromise being worked by hearing officers. And so right now we have 4 full-time hearing officers, and we'll be hiring 1, hopefully coming up soon. So I'm also going to put a pitch out there for if there's anyone who is either looking for a job as a hearing officer or knows someone. We will be posting that hopefully within the next maybe month and a half. Next slide. This is just about the case being accepted, it looking and who's going to be looking at it. Next slide. Again, just to reiterate, the board will not redetermine a finalized audit liability. So if you've had a finalized audit liability, let's say is very high, and now you're coming to the board, not for us to reevaluate whether or not that is correct, but now it's that you or the taxpayer who you're representing cannot afford to repay that either at all or is looking for an extended period of repayment or payment towards that, because we offer, I think, a little bit more of a longer term than collections does. And so maybe it's a little bit easier to come into paying off the state with maybe a longer period of time. And again, we do not interfere in any offset programs. Next slide. These are just some more things that the board can't overturn any criminal conviction. We cannot grant attorney's fees. Again, we are not the grantors of a late discretionary hearing. And we're really working towards, this is a next goal for next year. We see a lot of people who refile with the board, which you are allowed to do. However, we're going to be really taking a look at the reason for refiling, because I think that my hearing officers do a great job in really reviewing the information that is presented, that we have access to, and that is learned through outside, sources, and really do a great job in figuring out if we're offers in compromise, what's a good plan for the taxpayer to move forward. And so if you're refiling again because you don't like the order, number one, you're back in the line again. And number two, there's going to have to be really a consideration of something substantially material has changed with respect to your financial condition. If that is true immediately, please put that in your petition. Next slide. That is my information, and I think I don't see our general number there, but the board number, which we always have someone answering, is 312-814-3004. Thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it. And again, don't forget about amnesty. Thank you.